What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh.
Hey, Redman is in the building. You already know.
Hey guys, this is Emily Peachy.
Shout out, man, to Worldwide Collaborations, man.
I want to shout out Worldwide Collaborations, LLC.
Shout out to the Worldwide Collaborations, LLC.
World movement, beyond thousands of movements.
The world movement, beyond thousands of movements.
All about representing each other together. So check this out.
What's up? You want to be a part of this? You want to be a part of the Worldwide Collaboration?
You guys should all be a part of Worldwide Collaboration.
Worldwide Collaborations, LLC. Check us out, man, and check what's going on, man. Word up. I have recently been choosing to be a spokesman and an ambassador, so you will see a lot more of me. Join the movement, man. It's beyond thousands of movements right now and talents put together, all about representing each other together.
I want to join, so I might see you there. All right, much success.
All right. We're back with another Star-Studded episode of the Chatterbox with King Jacob. I'm your host, King Jacob, and we have another sensational guest tonight. Businessman, serial entrepreneur, content creator, public figure, teacher, student, just a man of all different levels, and try to inspire people, from his journey and the things that he have accomplished, the things he's been through. And I'd like to welcome to the stage Elliott Eddie. What's up, partner? How you doing?
Oh, man, what's going on, family? How you doing, bro? That was wow. What you were saying was awesome. I need you to introduce me at the family reunion or something, man. Maybe I get the. That was awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the kind words.
No doubt. So before we get started to your story, man, who is the honorable and the world famous Elliott Eddie?
Wow, man, I appreciate that. I would say, if I was going to answer that in a few words, I would just say, just a brother out here that is trying to build something, trying to help other people build something, trying to help people really connect to the gifts that they have and show that in long term. And that's just me to see it and create it and help people do the same thing.
Okay. So besides you being a lot of businesses that you own, your nonprofit, music producer, in the film business. So let's go back into time when you was younger, and how did your journey start?
Wow, that's interesting. First of all, there was a lot of years of trying to find out, find myself. I was one of those cats. I grew up in group homes. So when I was young, I grew up in New York. So I was in group homes growing up in New York, playing a little ball, trying to find my way as a youth. I think I got lucky because in my high school years, I was playing basketball. Somebody came up and said, "How would you like to go to college?" I was like, that sounds good. So he got me some financial aid. I went to college, got a little education, came back, and then really started to find out, who I was and what was it that I had particularly to give the world, and how I was going to be able to capitalize off of some of the skills I had as well.
Okay. So when did you get started in music? Is that when you was younger? Is that when you was in college? So how did that journey start?
Well, music and film, all right. So when I was in school, I was a theater major, a dance minor, creative writing minor. So a lot of that came in college, where I was, learning to express myself, whether it was on stage or whether it was on pen and paper, and that grew. So the music and the film kind of came together. Once I left there, I went out to California to sell some scripts or whatever the case may be. Got out there in that industry, and then started working independently, making my own films, making my own short stories, and that's how I got into the music. because, of course, once you start making films or once you start making these short stories, you need tracks as part of the progression of what you need, at least to make it sound good and to make it fit. So, and that's how I got into the music. Met a lot of people that were doing their thing that allowed me to come in and vibe with them while they were doing it. That did a lot of stuff for the films, and then just produce those, and they went put them worldwide, and just kept on doing it as long as I could.
Okay, so with the film and the music, man, Theater Major, transition to Cali.
Mm-hmm.
How did you first get your feet wet in Cali? Like, what was that process?
Yeah, so I went out there and first I was trying to do the acting thing, so I would get the backstage and I would go to all these auditions. But really, what set it off for me is about the time I went out there, I got on at BET. So I don't know if you remember, they used to have this show called Comic View.
Right.
It was a book with all the comedians back then. So I got on that show and I started doing some producing for that show, and that kind of got me in the flow of television production, film production. I went to school out there, got some certifications, got some degrees and all that stuff, and then and then I started taking some in what is it called, down at Santa Monica College. I started doing graphic design. That's when I got into 3D animation software. So it all kind of came together. I was one of those that wanted the information. I did the acting, so all of those came together pretty easily. And then I started trying to get into the Hollywood thing, but I didn't. So I started going the independent route. And then as an independent, acting, and then starting, doing your movies, writing the script, editing the film, and, all of the things that come along with that.
Okay, well, there's so many levels to doing that, man. And like, as far as on your set, when you hire like the associate producer, the wardrobe stylist, people like that, man. So how did you kind of get people to come in and work with you doing it independently, man? Did you use interns from the college, or did you just hire people to come in?
No, so I was kind of fortunate when I was doing my movies. People wanted to be in them, so a lot depending on. So I was real independent, man. I'm talking like guerrilla style independent. So that means I was working with the people who were trying to get in. I would pay a couple of people to do some certain things, and then I would get volunteers to help do certain things. So if you're talking about script supervisor, if you're talking about key grips and all that other stuff on an independent set is not as big as an issue. It's just having somebody there, having your cameraman and having a couple of PAs on that. So really for me, the independent, I kept it real lean. I did a lot of stuff. My wife did a lot of stuff on the set. I just kept it lean and just got the work done. I would cut down on hours, so I would shoot a whole movie. I would probably shoot that in 35, 36, 38, 40 days, going straight. And then just put it in the can and edit it together and put it out in different film festivals. I'm giving you the short version, of course, but put it out in different film festivals and then put it on there. Around the time I was doing it, we were really trying to push online. That was, just starting to get on. I was doing it back before MySpace, so just trying to get caught up in that.
Okay.
Yeah, just really doing the work and finding people that wanted to do the work also.
Okay. And so for you, when it comes to entering the space of music productions, to really create your own movie scores, and soundtracks and stuff, like how hard was it for you to become a music producer?
Well, for me, it was a challenge. It was something that I had to learn. I mean, but now, to be honest with you, with the film and the music and all that other stuff, I stopped doing that probably at 2010. So it's been over 10 years since I do that. I moved in different directions. But when I was doing it, it wasn't so much because everything was computerized by then. So, people were showing me how to go in, what systems I need to have, how to go in, how to operate the systems, what I need to put together. So once I started learning the basics of that, it was a little bit easier to go on. I would bring in people. The one thing I wasn't bad about is bringing in people who had some information, who knew how to do more than I did. Bring them in and put them down in the make sure they were part of the project. And everything for me, it just went smoothly. It just went smoothly, almost like it was supposed to be for a period of time.
Right. So you said you haven't written, produced, or directed a film since 2010, correct?
Yes, yeah. Since 2010, after that, I was doing it for a while, and I got a little disenchanted with the business of independent filmmaking, especially where I was. Everybody didn't have the same love for the work that I had, and that turned it from love to work. It was like, now I'm working. I'm not even doing it because this is something that I'm feeling in my heart. So instead of spending the money on that, I started, that's when I started moving into a number of different businesses. That's the serial entrepreneur and all that other stuff.
Okay. So after transitioning from that, what was the first business you dove into?
Taxes. Taxes.
Okay.
I opened up a tax company. That was probably 2008. So I've been doing that for 16, 17, 18. I don't know. The years is slipping past. But it was taxes, learning how to do taxes, and then doing people's taxes basically.
Okay, so what now that's a very interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hear these rich guys on YouTube always talking about the spaces that people miss so much money while they're doing their taxes. Whether it's you're doing personal taxes, or whether you're doing business taxes. They always talk about how much they miss and how they don't write down in a general ledger or have a spreadsheet of what they spent during the year. White guy was like, I don't care if I spend get a bag of peppermints for the office. That's going on my general ledger in my spreadsheet for my taxes. So how much money do people miss out on because they don't know or they've been misinformed?
Oh man, that's more people than you would know. They have this thing where people are like, I could do my own taxes. Yeah, people, you can do your own taxes. That's true. You can fix your own car. You can do a lot of things on your own, but it's the information that you miss. So on average, if in the industry, on average, it says that people miss about $600 every year on their taxes. Some going to be more, some going to be a little bit less. Depends on what you have going on in your taxes personally. But quite honestly, between missing taxes and especially a lot of people who end up at the end of the year owing back taxes, and I don't mean like owing back $100, I mean owing big time money. A lot of that has to do with not having all of the proper deductions, or all of the things that you should be carrying, all of the things that you should be paying attention to. And that's the big thing on taxes. So it's, so myself, I'm what's called an ERO, electronic return originator. What it means in a big scheme of things is I'm like an H&R Block. Once the taxes is done, it goes through me, and I have I'm connected to the IRS. I don't work for anything like that, but I'm connected, and I can file straight with them as a supplier almost. So yeah, and most people miss a lot of deductions, especially small businesses.
Okay, so would you say that you're the guy that started the tax business, and now you've turned that tax business into a firm?
Well, yeah, it's definitely a firm. I still kept it small, and what I did is I started teaching people how to do taxes. So I've taught people live, and I teach people online how to do taxes, because this is something that still has to grow. People are going to always have to do taxes, and people need others to do it that know the information. But yeah, I turned it into a firm. It's been going on for, like I said, a number of years, probably 18, 16 years or something like that. In between there, I do a lot of online classes or teachings here and there, giving information to help people, start to prepare for their taxes, so they're not there at the last minute wondering, what am I supposed to do now? So yeah, that's okay. I guess that would be a good solid firm.
Okay, so have you already roll out your own curriculum and you're selling it as an ebook or anything of that nature?
No, a literal online class, meaning you go to a page, you sign up for it, and you come into class, and I go over all of the aspects of the tax business so that you can do your own taxes. You can know where to get your credits, how to get your deductions, and by the end, you'll know it well enough that you can do someone else's taxes, make a couple of dollars on the side. But it's online. Like I said, it's just a regular class. You come in one day, hour and a half, and I teach you taxes.
So for the business owners that have LLCs, S corp, C corps, incorporations, and stuff like that, how hard is it for you to really get them to understand the need of a professional, tax professional tax personnel, as far as like yourself, because a lot may not really understand it, how important it is for you to have that tax professional person that works for your company. And so, how hard is it? Do they get it, or do you have to really sit down with them and show them what they've been missing out on?
Well, fortunately, a lot of people are starting to get it more because the government is trying to get deeper into their pockets. So they know that they need something else. So they'll at least call someone like me. Somebody will give them my phone number. They'll call me and just ask a couple of questions that I'm able to answer so that, just from the answers that I give, they know that they've been missing something. They know that there's more information there that they could be taking advantage of that they just don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. But now it's getting a little bit better. At one time, it was a little tougher to try to get that information. But right now, because of the changes in our economy, because of the changes in the seats and the chairs and all that, taxes get they get changed every year, but they get a little bit more intricate nowadays. Normally every year, tax law changes, and it's 60,000 pages. So me, myself, I stay up on it. I usually take about 32 hours worth of classes on taxes being given by the government or somebody that's, a third party giving that information out so that I can stay up on what the latest, tax trends and tax information is myself. But now it's getting better. It's getting better. People are starting to understand.
Okay, great. So, with you being a tax professional, as I watch these YouTube videos, the guy was saying that it's very imperative for people to study the IRS website because there's so many perks for the business owner on the IRS website, whether you're trying to, purchase houses on the tax lien sales, or whether you just it's so much that website gives you as far as that you may not know about as just being a regular citizen. And so do you think is imperative for people in general to really study their IRS website?
Yeah, I think, I think anytime you can get some information, you definitely need to. And when it comes down to the taxes and how it works and what it's there for, I think people definitely need to do that. I'm glad you mentioned that. So here's the information. Here's really the story. Anytime you allow yourself to lack information in any different any particular area, it has the potential to hurt you. Especially when you're talking about your money. So if we're looking at our money, we know everybody is getting taxed. You should at least know what the tax rate is, how much you're making as opposed to how much the government wants. Because if you're making some money, if you're making $1, the government wants some of it, quite honestly. So how do you plan for your taxes? What type of things are you doing so that you can plan for your taxes before they even get here? Some of the things that people need to make sure they know is that whether you're talking about your personal or business, really you should have what you talked about, a spreadsheet. You should have some sort of method to show what money came in and what's going out and what is being spent on. It's all right to have something like that, just making a basic budget. For taxes, what you do is you take that same information, what you spent your money on, and now we start putting that into the rules of taxes to see how much of that we can take off, how much of it has to stay on. Does it matter? Is it applicable? So the main thing is to make sure that you have some sort of recording of what you're doing. Let me be honest with you. Most of the businesses that fail within the first, you always hear the story. Oh, these many businesses fail in the first 5 years. The reason that they're failing, it's not because the people don't know how to do what they do, right? You know how to do what you do. If you do hair, you know how to do the mess out of some hair, right? If you whatever it is. What they don't know is the back end of business, which leads to taxes, but also leads to a whole lot of other things like legal systems and just hosting a good business. But yeah, most people don't record it, and it's the simplest thing, but it's also the hardest thing. If you spend a penny, you should know where it's going. So that way you can go back and say, okay, last month I spent, $500 on some Frito-Lays. Maybe I can have some profit if I just put the Frito-Lays down. It'll tell you stuff like that. And that's important. And first is the information, and then you can start talking about savings. What is a credit, and what's the deduction, and how does that help me? The first thing is to get a handle on the actual finances, the actual money.
Right, and so there's some programs out there that'll help you, whether it's you kind of print out your receipts or whether you using like a QuickBooks or payroll systems or you using Square or if you have PayPal business or whatever. So how is it important for someone to learn something like QuickBooks that a person that's a business owner?
Okay, well, I say, like you just mentioned, QuickBooks is one of a number of them out there. Some people I know have QuickBooks, they love it. Some people have it, it doesn't. That's not their favorite. I say you could have something, even if whether it's QuickBooks or something else, some sort of system, even if you have to create your own system. But it's easy to work within a lot of those systems, because they have all of the stuff you need right in there while you're getting used to, well, what are the specific things I can deduct for, like, let's say a business, right? Can I deduct counseling or education costs? What if I took a class? Those type of things.
Right. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
And so I also see that now I thought this was pretty amazing. I see that you have some spiritual awakening type classes, some manifestation type classes, some get your mind right type classes, like challenge your mindset, type classes. So tell me about those type of classes, man, and tell me about the type of people that are involved in those type of classes, because I know you meet all type of interesting people that may want to be involved in those classes, because everybody want to get their mindset right, and everybody wants to be able to tap into their spiritual awakening. And so what are those classes like when you're teaching out of your literature that you have studied, that you have written down, that you created for your students?
Okay, that's a great question. We'll go into that. So I am a minister, and the classes that you're talking about is online. I have an online deliverance session, and that happens every month on, I believe it's the first Mondays of the month. And what that's about, really what it's about is spiritual warfare. What it's about is understanding how spiritual warfare operates, how do we fit in it, the fact that what type of enemies do we have outside of just our physical body? Is our mind, how our mind can work against us, even how our bodies can work against us. So that's what the class is. We normally have people, most of the people that come through are usually from different parts of the world. Not as much the United States right now, but we get people from all over, Honduras, New Zealand, Britain, Jamaica. I mean, they come from all over.
Okay, so what kind of what was your mindset when you really started this program? And is this something that you had thought about for a while, and something that you realized need to be done with everything we see in society and everything we see in the world, and how people sometimes go through mental health because they have no spirituality or they have no spiritual awakening, and then when you're trying to deal with the world, it affects your mental. So I believe spiritually, if you're connected, with God, I believe that can really protect your mental health. Some may not agree with it, but that's what I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So, what I do when I say spiritual warfare, what I do. So, first of all, I believe that the Lord does give us a lot of things that we are able to use. He gave us a mind to be able to use. He gave us all of these facilities to be able to use. And sometimes what ends up happening is when you constantly yield yourself to certain practices, that can really get you outside of who you were made to be. I think that there's a whole lot. I mean, that's a big subject because it has to do with a lot of things: rebellions in heaven, rebellions on earth. Sin and unrighteousness and all of these concepts. And then so now with me being inside of it, what I learned is the Lord kind of led me in a different direction. And what I learned is this was the area that He was pointing out to me. This is the area He said, I need you to have a deliverance. And I thought it was like deliverance or healing, but it was specifically deliverance. And what ends up happening is people need deliverance in a lot of different ways. Deliverance is spiritual warfare is a binding thing on your spirit because God and the enemy is trying to keep everyone out of the kingdom of heaven. So there are agents that are working against us. So you have your mind, strongholds in your mind, which would mean certain ways that you've grown up, certain things that you began to think is right, but it's quite not right. So you can have someone that has been molested, and over a period of time, that molestation causes a different reaction, may cause them to go inside themselves, may cause them to be boisterous or whatever it does, but it colors how we look at the world. So part of it has to do with spiritual things, and part of it is just having to do with understanding trauma and how we receive trauma and being able to start pinpointing those things and talking about those things and then not accepting those things. And then on the spiritual side, you just need to know who it is you're fighting. What are the agents that are working against you? What are these spiritual agents? How do they come? What manner of what lies? How do they deceive people? I mean, we can look on the television and see that there's definitely a devil and there's definitely some spiritual battles happening. So I teach a little bit more about how to recognize that, how to overcome those things through the blood of Jesus.
Okay. Now, trauma. How does one identify with trauma that has like captivated their mind and damaged their walk of life for a while now? Like, what's the best way your teachings and your classes get people to identify like this has been a problem? Because first you got to admit the problem, and then you got to understand what the healing process looks like from you to evolve from that trauma.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not a psychiatrist, anything like that. So what I normally do, if there is some trauma, some obvious trauma that's really unsettling and has changed something and colored the way somebody thinks, I would have to refer them to some professionals that would be able to help them dig that out. So I don't, I can't. It's not like I'm saying, okay, trauma, be gone. Because it's not really like that. Some things are just, we grow up with all of these things that happen to us in life. And as you grow up, you don't have the mental capacity to understand those things. So some things are dug inside of ourselves, and people have to help you release that. So that is a real thing. What I deal with is a little bit in recognizing that trauma, what the Holy Spirit says is causing trauma, or if it's a spiritual, like I said, if it's a spiritual issue, if it's because of a fallen angel, if it's because of a demon or something like that, then there are ways through the scriptures to deal with that. So it just depends on who I'm talking with and what really, what's really going on from what I'm understanding to be going on, how I lead them.
Okay, so now, Brother Elliott, what about the person that you referred them to a psychologist and they said, no, Brother Elliott, I don't need a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I need what I have within your class right now, and that's called spiritual therapy.
Oh yeah, then
So
we
how
gonna get that
so
in.
how do you respond to that? And one of those conversations like,
Okay, so most of the people who will come to a deliverance class or a deliverance session, something like that, they're usually people who are knowing that they're doing something that's a little bit sideways. So whether they've practiced something in the occult, whether they're part of an organization that has occultic ties, whether they're doing some witchcraft in many of its forms, tarot cards, Ouija boards, or tea reading. There's so many variations of a lot
mhm,
of this trickery and a lot of this darkness that is being dealt because it's trying to be palatable. The enemy is trying to make it palatable for people. So usually it's something along those lines. When it's something along those lines, we talk. First of all, it's about information. It's about knowing what you're going through. Why do I keep getting this organization that keep coming after me, and these spirits are coming after me, and somebody's putting curses on me? Well, if you have some ties, if you still have some ties to something, you have to release those ties. You can't be tied up with an enemy and then trying to distance yourself from an enemy, meaning that you might have to give up the membership. You're going to have to give up friendship. If you have physical items, you're going to have to give up those physical items because that's part of what a spirit can use to attach itself or to really harass people. So we get those type of things. We get things, I hear stories from when someone tried to sacrifice their child in order to get more, spiritual power. Everything from that to people who need to deal with things like, pornography or smoking or, different other issues that are spiritual issues that they have to overcome, that they've been given the power to overcome. The blood of Christ was given the power to overcome, but then there's still another part where you have to present yourself a living sacrifice. So there's understanding that the spiritual part is taken care of and how to stay in that so you can, keep your mindset, and then what to do physically to keep yourself away from those binding ties that's trying to bring you back. So that's what it looks like when I do spiritual deliverance classes.
okay,
And
okay,
the
great,
stories, like
great.
I said, stories can get wild, but yeah. And then you want to help people understand how to stay delivered, because if you're going to get delivered from from something like witchcraft, how do you stay delivered? Right? How do you stay out of the way of that, or keep that belief system, and not fall back into those same patterns that you've done before that led you there? Like reading
Right,
some
right.
scripture and so there's all of that.
Okay, I can dig it. I can dig it. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned, because we are chopping it up live with none other than Elliott Eddie. Businessman, serial entrepreneur, man of God. So stay tuned for more important messages. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. That was Born Hungry Apparel out of Chicago, Illinois. Two brothers started that company Sampson Jordan and Reginald Jordan, and they have grown this company for the last 2-3 years. So shout out to the young brothers, that came together to start the company. So salute to them.
Yes.
All right. So, one of my favorite things to talk about is when somebody desires to have their own nonprofit. Community activism, advocating for different situations, whether it's, for single fathers, for single mothers, starting a cause for people with fibromyalgia or the kids with autism. So you have a nonprofit, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is the name of your nonprofit, and why did you feel the need to start a nonprofit?
Well, the name of my nonprofit is Dream Child International. And we do services that help provide education. We provide services also, but mostly about education, particularly in the area of entrepreneurship for children and for adults, to help them become, self-serving, self-sufficient in the world and be able to solve some problems. But anyway, so there's dual. There's always, usually within all, if you're going to be a person that's business minded, usually there's also some level of a nonprofit running in you, something that you want to give back to, or something that you're trying to do to benefit the community. So first of all, I say if you have a LLC, if you have a corporation in any form, you really should have an LLC, some place where you can actually take a portion of it and do something good for a community, a group, or a people. And that's how we move our world forward. That's how we reach back in and help our seniors and help, different people that can need assistance. If it's going to get done, it really gets done to business owners like you and I. So everybody should have a profit. I really think so.
Okay. And so, as far as with you having your nonprofit, man, what are some things that is near and dear to your heart, that you run through your nonprofit?
Education, man. Education, particular entrepreneurial education. So the skills in entrepreneurship is transferable. First of all, I would tell people that entrepreneurship, what it really is, because a lot of people break it down to money and businesses. What an entrepreneur really is a problem solver. An entrepreneur is someone who sees a problem and they figure out a way to solve it that's going to be a benefit to people, no matter what. Somebody needed to sit down because they got tired of standing up, so they invented a chair. There was a problem there. There's always a problem behind entrepreneurship. So what my nonprofit does is it takes a lot of the work that I do and it targets it in a way that is going back into Title I schools. It's going back into economically depressed areas. It's going back into community centers and going and showing people the skills that entrepreneurship brings, how entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial mindset will help you in this world, whether even if you get a job, how that's going to help you. And then for those who want to start a business, we teach them how, and we give them mentorship along the way so that they don't get lost, but so that they can create businesses for their mothers and their sisters and their aunts and their community and everybody else. And we can, move a little further than where we are now.
Okay. And so I'm really glad that you mentioned the education. I have a problem with America right now. And I'm going to tell you what my problem is. My problem with America right now is the school system. And why doesn't every school system have a STEM program? Why don't we have a science, technology, economics, and mathematical system? You know what I mean? These are the things that's going to help these kids thrive. And so, how do you feel about the STEM program for the schools that have the STEM programs?
Man, I think the schools that have STEM programs really have a leg up. I have my board game is STEM. I really love STEM. And STEM is number one. It inspires so much. It inspires creativity. It inspires self-sufficiency. It inspires perseverance. There's so much you learn in those arts, right? In science, in technology, and all of those things. I think every school should. Like I said, I would like to say I think every school should have one. I understand why there's so certain schools that don't have problems, but I think that that's a problem that we need to solve. I think we're going to be better for it. You got to understand, a lot of times the school systems have been designed so that it will create workers, not free thinkers. And there's a difference between those. You know, if you create workers, and we need people to work, we need people to keep our economy and business and industry going forward. But then we also need free thinkers, and I think there are far too few free thinkers as a product of the school system than what we really need. STEM is going to help that. STEM is going to help you solve problems. It's going to help you not just solve problems, but create problems that need to be solved. And I think our schools that don't have them, especially in a lot of these Title I school districts, I think they're really harming their children and their community.
Okay. I can dig it. So we have Miss Toya Brand tapping in with us from Atlanta, Georgia. She's a nutritionist. She's a herbalist. If you need sea moss, if you need sour syrup, if you need anything that's all natural for your body and for healing process for your body, she's healed people that had diabetes, that had high blood pressure. You know, she's really helped people who had poor circulation in their legs, and she works hard. She works hard to heal the community. So that's her purpose, is to heal the community and to help people get back to those natural resources, those earth resources, where we can keep on empowering each other. So shout out for her for tapping in with us.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Congratulations on all your success.
Right. So you have a STEM board game, and so what is, like, tell us how you got involved in the board games. Like how did you organize that right there, man? That's interesting, because what people don't know about board games, man, there's board games convention in Japan. There's some in the US, there's some in France. You know, there's board game conventions in places like Norway and Sweden and the Czech Republic. So it's huge. I come to find out how huge it was because I got a friend that works for a board game company, and he be all over the world, man. Like, for real, man. So tell us why you got involved in how did you come to find out that it was so huge?
Wow. So that's a good one. So I knew nothing about board games. I knew nothing. I knew what we knew growing up, playing Monopoly for 7-8 hours, the game of life, Payday, those type of things. But, board game was not even in my rear view as far as creating. This is what ended up happening. So if you've heard of Toastmasters, I went to the World Championship of Public Speaking, top 10 in the world. So I come back from there and I'm trying to figure out, I'm doing conferences and I'm doing the speaking thing, but I wanted to figure out, well, what is my niche? What is it that I do specifically that I can tailor my speeches for, tailor my presentations? And I knew that I do entrepreneurship. So I started, what I did is I went to the local library and I said, I'm going to teach the kids entrepreneurship for 6 weeks. Just let them come down with their parents. So we would have maybe 30 kids plus their parents in this room in the library. And I would go through and I would do a workshop. So one day I'm going around the class and I see this little brother, and usually they're between 8, anywhere from 8 years old up to about 18. So I see this young man in the front and I asked the brother, I said, well, if you could open a business right now, what type of business would you open? And he said, you know what, I can't open a business. You need to be special in order to open a business, and I'm not special. Broke my heart right then and there, because the problem was they didn't see themselves as valuable like that. They saw themselves as consumers, but they weren't seeing themselves as producers, right? When they went to their corner store, they didn't see dude that ran the store. They didn't see he was someone that they could be. They just saw a store owner that was selling you stuff in your neighborhood. So I went back with my wife and I said, well, you know what? If one kid feels this way, that means that there are millions that feel this way. How do I take this workshop that I do? How do I affect more children? Because I can only get 30 kids in a workshop in one area. And then I was thinking about Monopoly. Now, I do real estate, and I love real estate. I found out the reason that I did is because I used to play Monopoly when I was growing up. Now, it didn't teach me how to do real estate, but it got me interested in it. So I said, well, what if there was a game that would teach people how to become an entrepreneur? So I went out there and researched, and there was no game like that. I mean, you had stuff like Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow, but that's not really an entrepreneur game. It's a finance game that tells you how to work money once you got it. So I'm trying to figure out, how do you take what you have, a thought that you have in your brain, and turn that into a product that you sell around the world? How do I teach people that process? And I said, well, let me do an entrepreneur game. And the idea was to teach children and adults, but I started out with children, to teach them how to take an idea, turn it into a business, and then what things entrepreneurs deal with as they go along at different points in the area. You know, how do they deal with finances? How do they deal with whether they should advertise or market their business or not? How do they know if they've made money or lost money? I wanted to teach them that whole thing, and that's how the entrepreneur board game was born. Once I got the board game done, I went and got my STEM. It's had quite a few accolades here and there. You know, History Channel and Forbes Magazine, and I'd be here all day naming all this stuff. But the main thing is that it's captured the minds and understandings of a lot of children and some adults on the things that they need to know, information that they need to know, and let them play it in a friendly setting.
Okay.
I know that was a lot of words. Did I answer your question?
That's deep. I love it. I love it, man. I love what you did. So we're gonna take the last quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with none other than Elliott Eddie, man. Businessman, serial entrepreneur, and man of God. Stay tuned for more important messages.
Shout out to the men that just came home from jail and said, no matter what the circumstances is, I'm never going back. Shout out to the men that said, I'm tired of neglecting my children. I'm stepping up and being a man for my children, teaching them morals, honor, responsibility. Shout out to the men that say, you know what, I'm tired of sleeping on that couch. I'm tired of using my mother. I'm tired of using that girl. I'm going to step up and be a man for me. Shout out to the men that just graduated from college or going to college. Shout out to the men that graduated from trade school. Shout out to the men that say, yo, I'm just tired of being tired and I need to make a change. Shout out to the men that stayed there, that's raising their children. Shout out to the men that's getting married or want to stay married. Shout out to the men that's taking care of children that's not biologically theirs. Shout out to the men that's trying to figure it out. Shout out to the men, because you are a beautiful soul. Shout out to the men that's just being a part of everybody's life to make a change, man. Stop the violence.
Well, shout out to the men.
Yeah,
I just like to say, man, that we got to start shouting each other out. We got to start telling each other, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you. Keep applying pressure, man, because these kids out here need you, man. And it's not enough of us telling each other that we're proud of each other. We tell the females that we're proud of them all day. But we need to tell each other that, you know what I mean? Because when it comes to the epidemic of black men that's falling in the United States of America, it happens daily, man. There's so many black men just losing their lives, man. So for those who are advocating for black men, to tell them that you can accomplish this, you can be great. You was born to be great. You have the willpower to be great. You just trust God and just keep applying pressure. Just be great and inspire somebody so you can stay inspired. So that's what we need from each other, for sure.
Here.
Yes, sir. So one last thing, and this is gonna go back to the nonprofit, and then we'll close out. How do we, as a community and as a people, how do we stop the violence with the young people in the United States of America? Because it's not just happening in major cities. It's happening everywhere now. And it's like a young kid can get a gun before they get a sandwich. And so what has happened where guns are so accessible and so easy to get, and and what has happened where young people has given up on life. They want to kill and shoot one another. How did this happen? Like, where did this epidemic come from?
That's an interesting question because you have more than one culprit. Because it's easy to point in and look inside the community and say, well, there's definitely an image problem. There's an image problem because, our children, generation and after generation, don't understand the image that they were created in. They don't understand the image of who they are, which as a result, they're looking at other images on TV and on the movies and on YouTube and on TikTok, and they're taking and they're starting to apply themselves to those images. The negatives, particularly negative images. So on the one hand, we have to make sure that our children coming up understand who they are. Give them more to see and more to understand and more that their mind can work on than just whatever's closed in your neighborhood. I think we need to be better images. And then I also think we need to understand what we're up against, back to that warfare thing, because guns ends up, there's an old adage, guns end up in communities, drugs end up in certain communities to try to hamper your decision-making skills to make you feel like this is the only way you can do certain things. But I think part of that is part of the program culture that has been perpetrated for many, many decades. It's systematic. It goes from everything from our schooling system and what we've been taught. That's why we were talking about a little earlier about just, school and not just being, they would like to have a mindless drone. So you have the images that they're trying to push and the narrative that is trying to be pushed by putting certain things and make them accessible to our children, especially to our children. And then you have certain things that they grow up without lack. You have systems that were set into place to get black fathers out of homes so that those black boys don't have something to look up to. So those black girls don't really have an image of what a black man is and what I should and should not have to tolerate, what is love and what is not love, what is taking advantage and what is, all of these different issues were systematically put upon people's minds. And as long as that stronghold is still in the mind, you can't change a generation unless you can change their mindset. So it's a difficult question in that it's going to take so much more work and not just talk, actual work inside. So one of the things when I was doing this event for the city of Reading, and we were talking to them, education, blah, 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 from Black People's Hall of Fame. One of the things that I talked about there was the fact that you have to, you can't just say, I'm going to throw money at a problem. You have to have people or still those soldiers that's going to look these children in the eye and be able to give them love, be able to give them truth, be able to give them understanding, be able to show them what it looks like to be a responsible black man that still don't take no stuff, whether it's no matter who's coming from, but knows how to work together to solve problems effectively without having to go to violence, how to have a conversation, the basics of conversation, which is a lost art, how to speak with someone and allow your thoughts and your information. I just want to tell you this one story. So we were at this STEM convention. We were selling the Bible, the board game that we had, my wife and I. So we were set up as vendors, and right next to us was a table. Just happened to be a table, white lady. She's selling her wares, and her husband. So after a while, her husband comes in. Her husband's a cop somewhere in Williamsburg. He is a cop. We find that out right when meeting him. No big deal. He's a cop. That's whatever. That's his job. So as we were having a conversation with him, what we noticed was he wasn't able to put together really sentences and express his thought as clearly as whatever was on his mind. It wasn't coming out of his mouth. So he was having a hard time expressing himself. And all my wife and I could think about when we went home is I said, okay, so here's someone that has a gun that has the authority to shoot, but they don't have the authority, they don't have the ability to communicate. So right off the back, I know there's got to be problems. There's got to be problems, you know. So there's so many. I just say that to say there's so many things that really fill, you know, that question that you have. How do we help these young men see that violence is not a way to put down the guns and all that? It's a many-tiered solution. It's going to take solutions on a number of levels. Each one of us, brothers and sisters, we're responsible for the image that we project to our younger generations. So if they see me dropping, if they see us dropping it like it's hot, they're going to go the next route, the next thing. So they have to look at us as imagers, as representations, and dare I say, representations of what God originally intended, without the malice, without the hypocrisy, without the, you know, the violence, and then put something so they can see that, and then put something up here that can get in here. Put something in their head so that they understand what game is, even when it's coming from a government, and how to navigate that, and how to be your own person and just say, no, I choose not. I'm gonna choose this.
No, man, I can remember my dad used to tell us, use your head for something besides a hat rack.
Yeah, I heard that one too. Yes, sir.
You know, so with that being said, I can remember that when we was getting out of school in summertime, my granny made us read books. Yeah, it was a certain amount of books you had to read for the summer. Yeah. So with that being said, we need to get back to the old days. But man, it's been a sensational interview. It's been a sensational dialogue. I really appreciate you coming on, man. Blessings to you on your journey, man, and keep applying pressure. Don't stop, and keep on inspiring so you can stay inspired, man. So tell everybody where they can find you at, and we'll close out.
All right, man. I appreciate those kind words. Thank you very much. Well, you can go on my Facebook and just find me, Elliott Eddie. Just like it's spelled up here, 2 L's, 2 T's, Elliott Eddie. As a matter of fact, just type in Google Elliott Eddie, and you will see me. You'll see me on a bunch of different platforms. You can touch base with me on any one of those platforms, and I will get back in touch with you. And go to Educational Game Store, get that entrepreneur game to start teaching your family about entrepreneurship and business ownership and solving problems.
No doubt, no doubt. So, you heard it first. Elliott Eddie, Chatterbox. And man, I want y'all to be safe, stay blessed, but most of all, stay encouraged. Peace and blessings. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.